Hi, it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. So you know how we get intrigued as paper crafters with just sort of the shapes of things that we see in the wild, right? You know, like just the back of an envelope with that triangular flap. We've all used this shape before and recreated it for different junk journal elements. I just decided to make a fresh batch of pockets today. I also ran across these and I'm sure you've done these before. These are just the little, I think I first got the idea from Gail Augustinelli, but they're just like little embellishments or like little journaling spots that you can tuck in, but they sort of mimic that look of the back of an envelope. And I'm going to make some for pockets today. You know, I'm not certain we're going to use any of these to embellish, but all that, just seeing that shape recently just sort of inspired me to try some new pockets. Here's a couple that I was experimenting with a printout paper and a part of a book page. Another one with just book pages and just a little bit of an embellishment at the base of that flap, almost like it was sealing that envelope shut. But then this is something that we could just glue into a page and make a nice pocket for a junk journal. I think it would be really easy to make a bunch of these without embellishments on them. So something sort of like this. That has music page and a piece of book page. And even if you didn't put any sort of, I mean, it would look great, really, all on its own on a book page with some sort of a nice colorful tag or journal card or booklet going into it. But if you wanted to make a bunch of them and leave them blank and then put some sort of embellishment that suited the theme of your journal, then you would be, you'd be that much further ahead in the creation of your ephemera to fill that journal. So let's just go ahead and make some of these. And, here's a couple that have sort of a Christmas theme as well. I took some little offcuts of some scrapbook paper that I had sitting around and paired them up with some music pages and, a few little circles and made more pockets. Again, they look like envelopes. And that's the thing about this shape. It makes you think, ooh, what's in that envelope? Even though it's not really an envelope. So one of those fun little tricks that we use to bring intrigue to our journals. I'm going to begin just by pairing a couple of different pieces of book page. Maybe I'll take this old children's math page, and we'll start there. In making these, I realized I wanted to, always make certain that I was making them around under 5.5 inches wide, maybe a little bit closer to 5 inches, just so that they would fit nicely on a page. And this one, this little math page, if I trim it off just around here, that's going to be fine. So let's see, this is pretty fragile and I don't think it's going to take well to tearing. So I'm going to just cut that margin off. And I'm going to put two book pages together, and you'll, this one, of course, is blank at the top. This is coffee dyed, but using this technique, it's the bottom part of the page that is going to show anyway. So let me take this one. Yeah, I think I like all of these numerals here. So that's going to be on one side. I'm going to put the other one on top, but I'm going to turn it upside down. And yeah, that's going to... I want my two sides that are going to be showing on the outside of this little sandwich. So we'll begin here. Oh, breaking in a new glue stick. That's always exciting. We have to get our kicks where we can, don't we? And if these were not the same width, I could certainly trim them up to become so. I feel like this is just having these little faux envelope pockets, they're not groundbreaking. We've probably done them before, seen them before, but that's just what I'm doing today. And look like I'm giving it a massage. getting those layers put together. Okay, I will double check on my width here. Yeah, it's right around 5. I came out a little bit extra here, but anyway, remember I'm just making a flat piece. I'm not making the piece itself be a pocket. It will become a pocket when it's glued onto the page. And I'm just going to turn it down here. And because I did that flipping, that upside down piece, then once the back side was turned onto the front, they're both right side up. I hope that makes sense. I probably double check. Somebody told me the other day I was wafting off camera, so sorry if that happened. I think I'm going to trim this little women page off at the bottom of the text. Go, and then trim the margin off this. This is just ridiculously easy. Well, I think I'm going to have to get my scissors out here. Again, trimming a brittle page with a knife is sometimes not the wisest strategy, especially when there's some dampness, some moisture in there from the glue. Scissors are a little bit kinder to the surface. All right, now I want to get that V shape going, but the main thing I want to, in order to get that, I want to mark the center of that piece. So I could fold it, or I could pull out my ruler and measure it. This is a ruler that has the 0 in the middle, so it's very easy to find your center point, which is going to be there. And here, I could cut it, but I think I'm just going to fold. Here, let me put a little mark here so you can see. This is going to be on the inside, but you can see where that crease is. Perhaps that's a little more visible for you, and for me, frankly. I'm going to fold here and just sort of roll my paper up until I fold it at this point here and at that center point there. And let's do the same thing over here. We'll just sort of roll it. There we go. I could cut it here, but for a book page, I kind of like the look of that folded edge. So this is certainly not the only way to do it. I am going to cut out a little bit of that bulk so we have not quite so much folded underneath. Do this any way that makes sense to you. There's no rules on anything here. Cut a little bit of that top edge so it's away from that top fold. And there's our little pocket. Oh, that looks cute. That looks super cute. I'm going to use my glue just to secure down this folded over edge. And this one here. And I do really like the inking on these because I do want them to look nice and grungy. What did I do with my, here's this. I think that will, my vintage photo, which I recently re-inked. I think that's going to be fine for this. Trim a little bit of that book page that's on the back side. this part in Vintage Photo of the Ranger Distress ink. And then the main part. And see, this is both of these are 2 layers now. So they're more, even though this old arithmetic page is pretty darn brittle, it has some more strength since it has its second layer there from my Little Women page. Looking for my other ink, which I may or may not be able to find. Now, here we go. I saw a tip again from Gail Augustinelli recently. Actually, she's been doing this for quite a while, but she's been enjoying the process of inking with Vintage Photo along the edge of a paper that she wants to distress. You know, the getting onto the surface a little bit, and then coming in with Scorched Timber, which is very dark, and getting just the edge there. So you can see how that gives a little bit of extra pop. And since the distressing is important, I don't want to cross-contaminate my... This is the Vintage Photo, yes. There we go. Try to use separate daubers here. I mix them up all the time, but since I've been in a pattern of using Vintage Photo and then coming back in with the Scorched Timber, I have been trying to keep my daubers a little more separate. And let's see, did I put Vintage Photo on the top edge? This coffee dye book page is so weathered already, it's hard to tell what I've already inked. There we go. A slightly more elaborate inking process than I usually use, but certainly worth it. Now that all those edges are inked, I can press down my little flap, and there's my pocket. I could put it into my stash just like this, but I do think, because, you know, we like decorating things, I think I might come in and, I've been decorating these actually just using whatever is sitting around on my desktop. I could come in with one of my, little other, no, that looks a little too weird. I think I want to just put just a little bit of an embellishment there. I have this strip of lace that I stiffened with a solution of glue and water, and so it's not all floppy. I don't know why I did that. I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. But I stitched a little piece of plain muslin down the middle, or coffee dyed muslin, and then I did some stamping there. So let's see if I can cut a little bit of this strip off. This was just sort of an experiment, and see how that looks. Distress the edge of that lace. Since it's stiffened from the glue and water solution, I just use the cheap glue, not the good glue. That's okay. Yeah, I'm not totally loving that. This is, there's a little something I had sitting around, just a little scrap of paper that I stitched some lace to and put that little flower on. That's kind of cute. The purple looks a little weird though. What else do I have here? Oh, I kind of like that. These are just a couple of layered circles cut out of scrap, and then a little paper flower with a brad on it. Yes, I'm enjoying that. Again, if I were doing a whole bunch to go into my stash, I probably would leave it looking like this initially, but then when I went to go put it into a book, into a journal, I would decorate it with something like this. And here is a lovely little pocket to go into a journal. Aren't those intriguing? I love that combination of those different kinds of book pages. Let's use a different kind of cast-off paper for our next one. I am going to use, I believe, a dictionary page, and I chose this one because it's not coffee dyed, because I want to pair it with the sketch that's on this note card. This was from a lovely little note card that I received in the mail recently, and I'm certainly going to keep the note on the inside. But I thought this cover was so pretty. I thought, you know, it is not the season for this. This is a very summery looking thing, but I will go into my stash for a warmer weather journal. This is 5.5, so I'm going to cut that down. I think I can cut this little margin off of this artwork. And I will be losing some of the artwork at the top, but I'm going to try to make that flap perhaps not quite as deep as I sometimes would. The measurements aren't super important here, but you do want to have something that you know is going to fit onto your page. There we go. And I could leave that bottom margin on, but I might as well bring it back to the image. So there we go. Oh, that looks so pretty. And I chose, again, I chose this dictionary page because it has a really white background instead of the aged background. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of fold this here. And what's a good way? Yeah, I think this one, I'm just going to fold this piece over like this, and then I'll trim it down. Yeah, I'm just going to give that a try. Maybe I'll glue the layers together just to anchor them a little bit. Go. Any way you want to join these, you know, these papers together, whatever works for you. You know, this is, I would not even call this a tutorial. This is just a demo on how I'm happening to do these with the things that are on my desk right now. You know, some days you don't feel like digging to start something really elaborate. You just kind of want to craft with what's on the top of your desk. Let's see, what did here's my little piece here. There we go. Good. I think I'm going to use this gutter, this central column spacer here. I think visually that would be nice to consider that the point of my flap. So let me, I think I'm going to flip it here. And I think I'm going to actually draw so I can fold on that line. But the first thing I should probably do is to determine my width here. Yeah, that's what I'll do next. I'll get the width cut into place. And then I can get the correct angle when I create my flap. There we go. Every piece you do is going to be different because you're going to have different proportions. You're going to have different kinds of paper. just a hair wide on this side. There we go. Now I can mark, there's the fold, and there's the fold. I'll double check and make certain that I didn't change the center spot here, which I may have done. Just a little pinch there. I did change that center spot, so it's a good thing I checked. So that center gutter, again, as it's called, that's going to be not down the middle of my piece, but that's really okay. As I film this, it's the day after Thanksgiving, and I hope you had a wonderful time, as did we, at our friend Kate and Justin's house. They love Thanksgiving. They love setting a pretty table. They love having friends sitting around. And I'll tell you one thing that was just so nice about this Thanksgiving, and very frequently when we have Thanksgiving with Kate and Justin, you know, there will often be, you know, games. We play, you know, celebrity or other just kind of, you know, charades or some kind of other fun game. We didn't play any games last night. We just sat around and talked. There was 10 of us there. We were in small groups, big groups. We had conversations where everybody was involved. We have conversations 2 or 3 people are, you know, were involved, both around the table and just as we were milling around before and after dinner. And it was the best conversation. I just have been thinking about it all day, how great that is. And, you know, I won't say it's rare because, you know, we have lots of good family conversations and things. But, you know, this was a Friendsgiving because our families were all elsewhere with other branches of their families. And so we're all people who, you know, we're sort of different generations, but we know each other from this friend group and have for many years. And it was just so nice to have really substantive, just conversations with people. You know, there was, you know, we had our phones out because occasionally somebody would ask a question and we had to Google the answer. And we, you know, we're taking a few pictures and things like that. But generally, it was a screen-free time. It was just talking. And I've really been marveling all day at how thankful I am to be friends with this wonderful group of people, some of whom we've only known a few years. One couple is a gal I've known. Actually, she was a high school friend of my daughter's, although, you know, that was from... We all lived in Plano, Texas at the time, but people find their way to Portland, and it was, you know, it was fun to, it's been fun over the years to stay in touch with her. She's a musician, and so we see her very frequently at Thanksgiving in this same friend group that tends to get together, and it just really, you know, so how many years have I known her? 20, let's see, 22 years, I guess. $23 years. Anyway, we had a lovely Thanksgiving. It was absolutely lovely. The food was good, and again, the conversation and just the people, the lovely people. It was a wonderful evening. So I hope that you had a good one as well. They're not all like that, you know, but there we go. There's our little faux envelope. And I know only a part of our butterfly is showing there, but I am okay with that. I don't think this one is even going to need any additional embellishment, but I do think I'm going to round the bottom corners. It just seems like that's what it needs. If I was doing a ton of decorating, I might put a little label or something off to the side to cover up that partial butterfly. But I really think I'm okay. All right. Let me get this little fold over piece down. And you can make this any depth that you wish. You could do, you know, a round flap there, but I really like this pointed flap. There we go. There is another little pocket. Isn't that darling? I'm so glad that I could save this note card and put it in a journal. I just love it. One other thing I want to show you is I have since taken that whole idea. I was kind of scrounging around for an idea for Christmas cards, for holiday cards, although this is something that could be certainly used for any kind of card. And I thought, if I put a little bit of a sentiment on the front, wouldn't it be fun to use that same motif, that same idea, that same faux back of the envelope, and use it on the front of a greeting card? And so that's what I did. I used little scraps of scrapbook paper, getting that contrast. This little stamp here, this thinking of you at Christmas, I just layered with other circles. And I think these make some really nice holiday cards as well. You could put, you know, little ribbons or something underneath that embellishment. I could have put some lace on. But I love the kind of grungy edge there that it has, that kind of vintage look. I loved being able to use the music page there. And I've made actually quite a few of these. This one, however, and this one, these will be pockets in a journal. And I'm really looking forward to using them. I'm going to be adding quite a few more to my stash. And you'll probably see them in the future pop up in journals that we do here together. So again, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope your December is off to a great start. And have fun with these. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.